professor, physician, epidemiologist. I am Dr. Sri Banerjee. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy, with a joint faculty appointment with Ross University School of Medicine. And I'm happy to announce that after many months of revisions, we have gotten this paper. And this is just a sneak peek of the paper because I'll be converting this and providing PowerPoint, also PowerPoint presentations of this material. But this is a really important paper that I collaborated with Drs. Szirony, Dr. McCune, Dr. Davis, Dr. Subocz, our associate president, and Dr. Brian Ragsdale, who is also the associate dean. We are we put our talents together and tried to focus on how to integrate 21st century tools to be able to address some of the gaps that are contained within the education system. What we did is we proceeded to identify some of the most dominant geospatial systems, and first try to give a sense of how COVID has affected us educationally. One thing I'll say is that due to the pandemic and distance learning has really gotten a boost because solutions that were needed at the time were distance learning sort of solutions rather than just thinking about on the ground education. Again, I'm doing this sneak preview because it was National Distance Learning Day on August 31. So I'm just trying to. I was busy working on the edits for this paper, but there's a lot of good material here, and everyone likes pictures, and we put a lot of pictures in here. Here's one of the theoretical frameworks. Two most dominant theoretical frameworks was one that was developed by my colleague, Dr. Gary Szirony, about dynamic integration model, and also integrating that with the social determinants of health, which is especially important when you're thinking about just how some of these dynamics apply within social conditions. And so in in order to understand the physical level of praxis and also how affect is affecting and cognition simultaneously, it's really crucial that we apply some of these models. After that, we proceeded to explain some of the most current technologies. Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat that we had three major umbrellas of technology or buckets of technology, technological solutions. So one was everything and anything under the sun in terms of remote sensing. All technologies associated with that were covered, at least in the context of the geospatial realm. But when we're thinking about artificial intelligence, and when we're thinking about just the general whole gamut of geospatial technologies, which don't necessarily include satellite imagery, which is the vast majority of remote sensing. The satellites, the number of satellites that circle Earth are giving real-time information. Within seconds, this is updated, and from multiple layers. So this has really advanced, but what AI is doing is filling in the gaps. So if there's an image that is not quite clear, then AI goes in and tries to fine tune and improve the level of granularity that may be available within the area. So just going through what were some of the variables that we focused on within the model, and this was properly vetted through just the literature review and what was theoretically making sense. So if a person feels sick, then they have poor physical health days, more so in the previous 30 days, then that would mean that they would potentially miss education. And by the way, this is college attainment, college level education attainment. So individuals that had at least some college was the study population. Poor mental health. If you're feeling anxious, or if you're mentally feeling unfit, then you're not able to uh, do your duties, or premature death in an area. So this would be a reflection of some of the chronic diseases. The Food Environment Index is another important index which was used. Physical inactivity, and then also influenza vaccines, which is a reflection of a number of things, potentially how accessible a clinic is, or even potentially kind of their worldview or mindset regarding vaccinations and whatnot. So these are the variables that are important, and the reason the vaccination part is important when we're thinking about colleges is because you have to actually show documentation of this. So and flu vaccines, a lot of college students are living in close proximity to each other within dorms. So when you have outbreaks of any kind, then it spreads through the dormitories like wildfire. Same with campus life, student life, in fraternities and sororities. There's so this is something that's important. When we're even thinking about distance education, some similar principles can still apply. But vaccinations, even though at first may not seem, on the surface may not seem like it would be related to educational attainment, but believe it or not, it is, and because of the vaccination requirements. So the main software that was used was Esri ArcMap, and that's version 10.8.2, along with Python callable MGWR software, and Excel. So the kind of the 10,000 mile or 30,000 mile view from up above is figure two. That's how you can think about it. There's you select spatially dependent educational issues, select associative or causative factors which show evidential backing of spatial association to social variables, and then just create a multivariate model by selecting spatially dependent variables, which ensures an inclusive model. But here I go into a little bit more detail, providing information about the specific variables that are that are connected. And so I've created, so what we did is we decided to summarize all of this, and we decided to create kind of a workflow pattern that demonstrates how all of these moving parts work together. Again, not losing sight of the big picture, and that was our intention here. We don't want readers to get too bogged down to understand this, but just so that if you have your own workflow, and if you have your own plan, then you can actually duplicate some of the study material that has been done here, and then apply it in a different context. Then you have a brand new model which you can submit, and which you can actually present on with your own paper. So think of this as kind of the blueprint to try to then springboard off of and kind of create your own projects. Looking at the distribution, you often you well, not often, almost always look at each individual variable. So this is otherwise known as univariate analysis. When I'm explaining this paper, I can't help but teach because, after all, I'm a faculty member, and so this is kind of what I do. So you can see these distributions, and I'm not going to go over this in too much detail yet, until all portions have been considered. But you can see the geographic distributions, and you can see the spatial variability of not only our dependent or outcome variable, which is educational attainment, but also all of the explanatory or independent variables. These spatially vary as well. So you're better off kind of comparing all of the different types of maps and then seeing how they correlate to each other, and then also kind of looking in these links, explore these links. We've created some excellent geospatial maps with links. We've created these equations, mathematical equations. It's 30 pages long, and so when this does get published, I encourage each and every one of you to go through it. I would like to again thank all of my collaborators for sticking through this process and providing all of your guidance, comments, feedback. It would not have been possible without all of my collaborators in this project. So thank you again, and the last, just to give you a little bit about how the process works. The last go around, one before was major revisions, but the last go around was minor revisions. So we're hopeful and optimistic that this will evolve into sooner than later evolve into a published paper. Thank you for listening.